Apple sent emergency teams to Japan, contacted government officials, dispatched staff to suppliers worldwide. But here's the shocking reality. Your next iPhone will cost $200+ more because Apple can't secure enough silver to make their devices. When the world's most valuable company panics over supply shortages, that's not market volatility. That's industrial crisis hitting consumer reality. I am about to show you why Apple's silver shortages aren't just affecting iPhone production. It's about to make every electronic device dramatically more expensive for consumers worldwide. January 14th, 2026. Apple stock drops 4% on supply chain concerns. Industry reports confirm Apple's struggling to secure sufficient supplies of critical materials needed for iPhone production. But mainstream media won't tell you the real story. This isn't about glass cloth fiber. It's about the silver crisis destroying electronics manufacturing economics. Each iPhone contains approximately 0.3 to 0.5 troy ounces of silver in electrical contacts, circuit boards, and charging components. At current silver prices of $104 per ounce, that's $31 to $52 in silver content per device. 6 months ago at $50 silver, same components cost $15 to $25. Raw material costs doubled while iPhone selling prices stayed competitive to maintain market share. But here's what makes Apple's situation exponentially worse. They're not just competing with automotive manufacturers for silver anymore. They're fighting against Nvidia, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, every tech giant desperately securing materials for AI infrastructure that consumes massive quantities of silver-dependent components. Apple's desperation signals reach unprecedented levels. Fall 2025. Apple sent staff to Japan, stationed them at Mitsubishi Gas Chemical to monitor supply chain directly. December 2025, Apple contacted Japanese government officials requesting help securing material commitments. January 2026, Apple teams dispatched to Chinese suppliers attempting to improve alternative source quality standards. When Apple, a company with $162 billion cash reserves, begs foreign governments for material access, that's not ordinary business negotiation. That's supply chain panic acknowledgement. Here's the mathematics destroying Apple's profit margins. iPhone 17 Pro production cost breakdown. $320 manufacturing, $52 silver content at current prices, $89 other materials, $45 assembly labor. Total production cost, $506. Retail price, $999. Profit margin, $493 per device. But silver at $150 per ounce changes everything. $75, silver content pushes production cost to $529. Silver at $200, $100, silver content, $574 total cost. Apple faces strategic choice. Absorb material cost, increases destroying margins, or raise iPhone prices, significantly reducing demand. Consumer electronics silver consumption creates identical supply mathematics as automotive sector. iPhone production, 250 million units requiring 75 to 125 million ounces silver annually. iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, AirPods, Apple TV, combined Apple ecosystem consumes 150 plus million ounces silver annually just for one company. Bad, Samsung, Google, Microsoft, Sony, LG, global consumer electronics demand approaches 400 plus million ounces annually. Combined with automotive, 172 million ounces, solar, 120 million, data centers, 20 million. Total industrial silver consumption exceeds 700 million ounces, while mine production stays at 844 million ounces. Available silver for investment, jewelry, medical, aerospace, defense applications, 144 million ounces maximum. When industrial demand alone consumes 83% of total mine production, remaining supply cannot satisfy normal economic demand without dramatic price increases. Apple's supply chain. Panic confirms what silver markets signal. Physical availability becoming more important than pricing for guaranteed production continuity. Apple reportedly paying $125+ per ounce for guaranteed delivery, while spot prices trade at $104. Premium pricing indicates industrial desperation exceeding financial considerations. China's January 1st export restrictions compound Apple's crisis exponentially. iPhone production depends heavily on Chinese silver refining and component manufacturing. Shanghai silver trading $10+ above London prices, while Chinese suppliers prioritize domestic demand over international contracts, including Apple. Apple's diversification attempts show crisis severity. Grace Fabric Technology, Unitica, smaller Chinese suppliers, all approach despite quality concerns because primary supplier Nitoboseki cannot meet combined demand from Apple, Nvidia, Google, Amazon simultaneously. T-glass shortage represents broader silver availability crisis. High-end glass cloth fiber requires silver-based conductive elements for electrical performance. When glass fiber suppliers face shortages, underlying cause traces to silver supply constraints affecting all electronic component manufacturing. Nikkei Asia reports one of the biggest bottlenecks for electronics making in AI industry for 2026. Industry insiders confirm supply constraints expected to persist through second half of 2027. 2 years minimum before meaningful capacity expansion addresses current shortages. Apple's ambitious 2026 roadmap faces mathematical impossibility. iPhone 18 Pro models, foldable iPhone debut, 250 million total iPhone shipments projected, each device requiring 0.3 to 0.5 ounces, silver at $104+ per ounce, while competitors bid aggressively for same finite supplies. Consumer price increases inevitable to maintain margins. iPhone 17 Pro starting price, $999. Add $23 increased silver content, plus supply chain premiums, plus alternative supplier development costs, plus margin protection. iPhone 18 Pro estimated starting price $1,199 to $1,299 minimum. That's $200 to $300 price increase directly attributed to silver supply crisis, forcing industrial users to compete desperately for finite materials. Every electronic device manufacturer faces identical mathematics simultaneously. Historical precedent confirms consumer impact severity. 1970s oil embargo quadrupled energy costs, forcing automobile prices higher while reducing features. Silver crisis following identical pattern across consumer electronics. Higher prices, reduced availability, simplified designs to minimize silver content. Apple's component substitution attempts prove silver irreplaceability for premium performance. Lower grade materials require extensive testing and validation, while failing to provide electrical conductivity, corrosion resistance, thermal management properties essential for iPhone reliability standards. Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge faces identical constraints. Sony, LG, Google Pixel, Microsoft Surface, every premium electronics manufacturer bidding competitively for silver-dependent components, while supply availability shrinks relative to exploding demand. AI boom accelerates crisis beyond traditional electronics consumption. Data centers, AI servers, neural processing units, all requiring massive silver content for electrical connections, thermal management, high-frequency signal processing. AI infrastructure competing directly with consumer electronics for identical materials. Google, Amazon, Microsoft. AI investments driving silver demand exponentially higher, while traditional electronics production continues growing. Combined industrial consumption approaching total mine production levels, forcing price increases that destroy consumer electronics affordability. Apple's government appeals indicate recognition that silver scarcity represents national economic security issue, not temporary market adjustment. Consumer electronics manufacturing shifting from price competitive to availability dependent as materials become more valuable than finished products. Physical silver delivery delays, extending 10 to 12 weeks for guaranteed supply. Industrial users paying $25+ premiums over spot prices. Cash settlement forced on paper contract holders unable to secure actual metal for manufacturing requirements. Apple's 250 million iPhone target requires 125 million ounces maximum silver consumption, equivalent to 15% of global mine production for single product line from one company. Mathematically impossible when every major manufacturer targets similar production volumes simultaneously. Consumer electronic devices entering permanent price inflation cycle as silver scarcity forces industrial users to compete desperately for materials essential to technological functionality. Your next iPhone, laptop, smartphone, tablet, all facing identical supply constraints, forcing price increases exceeding normal inflation rates. Apple is panic represents consumer electronics industry, acknowledging that silver shortage is not temporary supply disruption. It's permanent structural deficit forcing business model changes, prioritizing availability over affordability. When Apple can't secure materials, consumers pay higher prices for electronic devices requiring silver-dependent components. The silver crisis hitting Apple signals broader consumer reality. Technology prices increasing dramatically as industrial materials become scarce relative to manufacturing demand. Every device requiring silver content faces price increases, reflecting true scarcity value rather than artificially suppressed commodity pricing. Apple's emergency response reveals supply chain vulnerability across entire technology sector. iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, every product requiring silver-dependent electrical systems facing potential production constraints when materials become unavailable at any price. Consumer electronics entering permanent scarcity pricing era. Silver at $104 represents mathematical equilibrium between impossible industrial demand and finite geological supply. Further price increases inevitable as remaining stockpiles get depleted by desperate manufacturing competition. Apple's premium pricing strategy suddenly looks prophetic rather than excessive. $999 iPhone represents bargain pricing compared to production costs at $200+ silver. Future devices priced according to material availability rather than competitive market positioning. Apple is supply chain panic signals fundamental economic transition from abundance-based pricing to scarcity-based pricing across all silver-dependent industries. When America's most valuable company cannot secure basic materials, consumer prices must adjust to reflect geological reality. The silver shortage forcing Apple production changes represents early stage of broader economic restructuring around finite material availability. Technology advancement slowing as raw material constraints exceed engineering innovation capabilities. Consumer electronic devices permanently expensive as silver scarcity forces pricing based on material availability rather than manufacturing efficiency. Apple is 250 million iPhone target mathematically impossible at current silver consumption rates without dramatic price increases forcing consumer behavior changes. Physical silver becoming more valuable than finished electronic products as scarcity drives industrial competition beyond normal market mechanisms. Apple paying premiums exceeding profit margins just to secure guaranteed supply for production continuity, while competitors bid identically. The technology revolution hitting geological limits as silver consumption exceeds extraction capabilities globally. Apple's panic signals beginning of permanent adjustment period where material costs determine product viability completely. Every iPhone, every laptop, every smartphone requiring silver content faces identical supply constraints simultaneously. Consumer electronics industry acknowledging permanent transition from growth-based pricing to scarcity-based pricing, reflecting finite material availability completely.